What I want to do is I want to show you some super cool things that you can do that take fairly little amounts of effort. You know, we're always talking about, you know, theory and scales and techniques, and there's no doubt that all of those things are essential to our growth as a guitar player. But what I want to do right now is I want to show you some really cool things that you can do with finger strength, less picking, more legato ideas, okay? Now, again, it's going to require you to do some practicing, but what I think would be really killer is if you were able to add some really cool concepts into your playing to spice things up. So when somebody's watching you or somebody's listening to you or whatever, you've got these little things that you can throw in there that are just freaking cool. You know what I mean? So they're going to be little ideas. Some of them will get a little bit longer and you don't have to do the whole thing, but let's just see what we can do. So what I want to do right now is let's make sure that you've got your fretboard set up a little bit. You'll have the handout for this. I'm going to be doing these in G major, which is diatonic, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And if you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. But if you do, what we're doing is we're setting up the fretboard to be G major and its relative minor, which is E minor. And the reason we're doing that is because most guitar players play in G major, you know, when you're playing ballads and all that kind of stuff. And when you're playing hard rock or metal, you know, if you're playing or any kind of metal, you're playing in E a lot. You just are. So this is the perfect scale for us to explore. And I'm using the diatonic scale because I want to show you some really cool 3-note per string things that you can do that sound really cool and are very effective. Now, again, if you don't know anything about theory, just remember that these things that you're going to learn can be used when you're playing in E metal hard rock or you're in G major. You know, G ballads, G country stuff, probably not so much country stuff, I wouldn't think. But anyway, so let me show you some things. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you just this simple pattern of a 3-note per string pattern. And again, I'm going to avoid using a lot of pick at this point because I want you to attack these things quickly so you can use them right away. So what we're going to do is this is the primary scale that we're building off of. It's going to be G, A, B, and then C, D, E. And notice how it's the same shape, just like that. Okay, and then we're going to be using F sharp, G, A, B, C, D. And notice right there, there's a second shape. It's 1, 2, 4 in fingers. I'm using 4th fret, 5th fret, 7th fret. So you have 2 visual shapes right now. And then we end with the third visual shape, which is going to be 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8, which is first finger, third finger, pinky. A little bit harder finger combination. Okay, now I'm picking all this, and don't worry about this. I'm just setting up your fretboard. And again, we're going to give you a handout that has that G major thing I just played. So again, even if you don't know your theory, I'm going to stop saying that. But if you don't know your theory, don't worry about it. I'm going to be using those notes to create all of these different little ideas that I'm going to give you right now. So we're going to give you that. We're also going to give you a picture that shows it across the whole fretboard, G major, diatonic across the whole fretboard, okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to take that idea and I'm going to create some things for you to practice. So the first thing we're going to do, and we're still in the key of G major, I'm going to stay there for this whole thing, or E minor, depending on how you look at it. I want you to go to the 5th fret of the 4th string, and then the 7th fret and the 9th fret. So you're going to use your first finger, your middle finger, and your pinky, okay? Now you're going to do a hammer-on both of those. So you can pick the 5, and then you're going to do a hammer-on to 7 and 9. Now, the things we're going to do now are crucial that you're able to do hammer-ons and pull-offs. And of course, it would be a lie to say that you don't have to practice, you know, things to get better at these kinds of techniques. You do. I mean, if you're not very good at your hammer-ons or pull-offs, this is a perfect reason to start working on them a little bit. But you can do them with these exercises. You don't have to create some other exercises and then these are the licks. It's all one thing. So you're going 4, 5, 5, 7, 9. And then you're going to do the same thing on the 3rd string, 5, 7, 9. So I'm plucking the 5 on each string. Now, if you'd rather use your first finger, your 3rd finger, and your pinky instead of your middle finger, don't worry about it. Whatever works for you. I find that the finger combination of first, middle, and pinky is way more efficient than first, third, and pinky. My third finger and my pinky don't play well together. I use them a lot, but they're just less comfortable. So I would always opt to use my first, my middle, and my pinky in any situation I'm in. So as I'm doing that, I want you to think about this. I'm deadening out all the other strings that I don't want, so nothing's vibrating. So the top strings up here, I'm touching with my right hand, so they're not vibrating. And the thinner strings down here, I'm touching with my left hand, namely my first finger, so they're not vibrating. So I'm just getting this. And as I move from the fourth string to the third string, I have to stop the fourth string, from vibrating as well. So what I do is I use the tip of my index finger to touch the fourth string. I'm just barely touching it, but it stops the fourth string from vibrating. So when I shift right there, I'm using the tip of that index finger to kill the fourth string so it doesn't vibrate on me. So everything above, I'm deadening with this hand with my palm. Everything below, I'm deadening with this hand, with my first finger, namely. And then that one string in question, which is when I shift from 4 to 3, the fourth string I'm deadening with the tip of my index finger. And it's a great technique to get used to keep things nice and clean as you're playing. Now, to make this sound really cool, what you're going to do is you're going to add palm muting. Real simple, slight palm mute. You don't need a big metal, palm mute for this. What you're going to do is you're just going to touch those strings a little bit and watch what happens to the sound of it. All of a sudden, it gets this percussion thing happening, which sounds really, really, really cool. Now, I can play this. Again, if you're looking at that chart, anywhere where I have a spread fingering, which is 3, 5, and 7, or 5, 7, and 9, or 10, 12, 14, or whatever it might be, you can use this. So if I was down here, see? You can use it. You can palm mute or don't palm mute. You can do whatever you want with it. So there I can make a pattern where I'm going 3, 5, 7 on the 6th and 5th strings. I'm going 5, 7, 9 on the 4th and 3rd strings. And I'm going 8, 10, 12. They're just octaves. 8, 10, 12 on the 2nd and 1st strings. So maybe I do a pattern of 2 apiece. See? Or now I could go backwards as well. Backwards is going to require me to do pull-offs, of course, which is a little bit harder to do. So if we go to the middle again, I'm going to go back to 5, 7, 9. Now I'm going to start doing a series of pull-offs. Sounds pretty cool. Now remember, you don't have to try and play this as fast as you possibly can. A lot of times for players, and this is kind of a weird psychological thing, but for a lot of players, if you learn, instead of trying to play as fast as humanly possible and making mistakes and, tightening up and all that sort of thing, as you get better at this, if you just drop down 5 or 10% from there, you can find a nice comfort zone where you could do this all day long, okay? So instead of trying to play the maximum speed you could possibly go, you relax just a little bit from there and you find your comfort zone. And again, you can keep getting better and you can keep, expanding how fast that 90% actually is. But the point is when you're playing it, you want to be effective. It's not just how fast can you do it, it's how good does it sound. You want to think about those kind of things when you're playing. So if I was in the middle of playing over an E and I was going, and maybe then I go into something else that I'm going to show you. But I can go into that and I can start building it, maybe slow, and speed it up. See, it just sounds like you're doing way more than you actually are, which is pretty darn cool.